Right, everyone. How you doing? I'm Patrick. So this year, in July and over August, I hiked across Ireland coast to coast along the E8 route, which takes in the Wicklow Way, the Leinster Way, East Munster Way, the BlackWater Way, and sections of the Kerry and Beara Way. And I wild camped the entire way, and I figured I'd put together a video showing exactly where I camped each night, so people in the future, if anyone wants to hike in the future, they can know exactly where to go. So I put together this map. There'll be a link in the description to everything I talk about, and this video will obviously be part of a playlist, which I'll cover everything in from the gear I used to achieve the experience on trail, an FAQ on any questions you might have, that kind of thing. So this playlist will cover everything relating to hiking across Ireland coast to coast. This video is just focused on wild camping, spots I stayed in, and the accommodation, that type of thing. So yeah, this map, which you'll see again a link below, which you can copy yourself. This shows everywhere I stayed on the trail. So the blue line is the actual trail itself, the A trail. The green circle with the tent are where I wild camped each night. The yellow ones are areas I didn't camp in myself, but I could recommend potentially you could camp there if you wanted to. And then the blue circles are where I stayed in either a hotel or a B&B. So I also put timestamps to each of the smaller trails. So if you're hiking the Wicklow Way or the Leinster Way or East Munster Way, and you just want to know where to camp in those sections, just check the description below. And if you have any questions, if I don't cover something, just comment below and I'll get back to you at some point. So let's get started. So I started my trail in Dublin from the 40 foot, which is by the coast, the swimming club there if you don't know. So I was living in Dublin at the time in Slorgan, so I actually literally it was like a 2-hour walk, 3-hour walk from my door to 40 foot. I walked there back to my house, and the next morning I walked from my house to the start of the Wicklow Way in Marley Park. It's down here. If you don't live in Dublin, I'm not going to recommend a place to stay in Dublin because there's 3,000 options, so it's up to you. If you want to stick near Marley Park, that's where the start of Wicklow Way is. So stick around there, but literally you can stay in the city centre, and within an hour or two you can get down to Marley Park from a bus or wherever. So you decide that. So then, actually, from starting in Marley Park to start of Wicklow Way, which is where the actual hiking begins, I went first night down here. Get a map to load. So yeah, just past Knockway Youth Hostel. When I was hiking this, just in the middle of the COVID pandemic, so this was closed at the time, I believe. Might be open now again, but I'm not sure. But I just pitched my tent here on the opposite side of the Glen Cree River. This side here, where the trail is here, my mouse here, you actually see signs saying no camping, because this side of the river is private property, but this is national forest. And so there are already some established camp spots along the river here, so I just stayed on them. There's a fire ring, you leave a swing in one of the trees. If you use the river as a water source, I used Aquamira drops to filter it. In the forest up here beyond the camp spot, you can use this to go to the bathroom if needs be. It's out of the way, it's kind of private. Obviously practice leave no trace principles, 6-inch hole, throw with you, no wet wipes, just toilet paper, add some water in and cover it up again. So that's where I stayed the first night. If you turn a corner here, you'll see a way down to the camp spot, which is like super steep. Don't go down that first route. If you walk up 10-15 meters, you'll see a much easier way down into the little camp spot. The only thing to be concerned about with this spot is that people walking on the opposite side of the riverbank can look over and see you. So that's a concern. Maybe this isn't the spot for you. But yeah, you can maybe go up past here, you might find a place that's a bit more covered. But if you don't care about that, yeah, plenty of places to pitch your tent here. that's just where I stayed the first night. And then for the next 3 nights, I stayed in the huts along the Wicklow Way. So there's 3 huts: Brusher Gap, Monacore Hut, and Mucklock Hut. These are the only huts on the actual trail across the entire island, as far as I know. There should be way more, in my opinion. They're actually fantastic. So the first and the last one, so Mucklock and Brusher, they have water sources in the back. You still need to treat this water, but it's handy to just have it there. It's on tap. It's rainwater that's in the gutters and comes down, and you just filter that. The middle one, Monacore, doesn't have water, and when I was there, it didn't have any phone reception or internet. The other 2 did. So you could, the distances between these huts are pretty small. I was taking it easy just to start off my hike. I wasn't in any rush. But if you're just doing the Wicklow Way, or you want to just do a full day of hiking, you could skip the middle hut and just go from Brusher to Mucklock. So that's where I stayed those 3 nights. So you can't pitch your tent in Glendalough Valley, probably one of the most strictly controlled areas in Ireland in terms of wild camping. If you camp there, you'll be kicked out almost immediately. So yeah, camp in one of these huts on either side of it, and you'll be fine. So then after the last hut, I actually probably did one of my biggest days on trail, because there's a lot of road walking and not much options for wild camping. So I think I did maybe like 45 kilometers, something like that. I stayed in this little forest down here. So I should see. So yeah, there was like a little barbed wire going across the forest here. So we shouldn't keep camping here, but I was so tired I jumped over it. There's holes in the fence so you can jump in. The forest itself is really dark and damp. It's not pretty at all. But again, at the time, I didn't care. I just wanted a place to pitch my tent. If I wanted to do a smaller day, I'd recommend maybe these 2 spots here. So this one down here is a church. It's a campground. There's like a grounds there you could potentially camp on. But this one's probably a bit better for wild camping. It's more out of the way. There's a forest here. You can find a spot here somewhere to pitch your tent. When I got here during the day, I was going to pitch my tent, but it was still pretty early, maybe on like 4 o'clock. I can't remember exactly what it was. So I figured I'll push on and find a place later on. But in retrospect, I probably should have just pitched my tent there and not have done a massive day. So you can pitch your tent in either one of those places. This one probably be more favorable. So then after this one, I pushed on and finished the Wicklow Way that day. Past Donegal. I didn't actually go down to Kildavin to start the Leinster Way. What I did was I did not kind of a slightly alternative route. So I stayed the night in Buncloddy that day in the Buncloddy Lodge and Hotel there. And that's my spot. Buncloddy has like a bunch of shops and stuff, so I figured that's a better spot to resupply in. So it's got like Super Value, Lidl, that kind of thing. So I road walked down that way, and then the next day road walked up this road here, Barker's Road, and we connected with the trail here. This road is actually a cycle path or a cycle trail. So it's no road, but there's a signpost for, I think it's the 7 Stones cycle circle, something like that. So the traffic is kind of used to hikers at least, or like cyclists, and so you can just take to the side of the road and keep your wits about you, should be fine. Once I got back to the trail, I just did a short day. It was only maybe 10 or 15 kilometers, not even. I left town pretty late enough, and the forecast was for rain around 3 or 4 o'clock. So I pitched my tent here just after lunch in this little forest down here. So I walked down this way and just cut through. Again, you'll find you're capping this exact spot. You can find a place anywhere here, I'm sure. But I'll picture my tent here. And I suppose I have to give just a quick. Yeah, my tent is a pretty small tent. It's a one-man Z-Packs Multiplex tent. So if you've got a big family tent or there's a bunch of you, you might be able to find these spots might be perfect for you. But if you're just a single person tent, they should be fine. Yeah. So I stayed there for that night. The rain did come in, so I've gone correctly. Then the next day I pushed on. Where did I go? Yeah, past through Borastown. Oh yeah, and I went up to Brandon Hill as a camp spot here, Brandon Hill Camping. So I messaged them the day before on Facebook and I said, do you have room for a one-man tent? They said, no bother. I think it was only like €8, €10, something like that. Pretty reasonable. You can see my tent here next to all the big giant ones. It's a little bit outside the town, so if you want some food, if you need to resupply, there's an Aldi, Super Value, I think, buy food there. If you want some takeaway, the takeaway actually does deliver to the campsite, or you can just eat inside in the town itself. The campsite's really nice. It's got a shower, it's got a kitchen, got a little place to chill out. So yeah, I'd recommend stopping there if you're passing through. Then next day I pushed on. After that, actually the thing about this section here, the next few days, you're pretty much passing through a town every day, at least one town every day. So you don't need to worry about carrying that much food. You can just stop along the way. So there's a shop in Inistog, stop in Mullivant or Mullavat, that's what it's called. So there's Mullavat down here. There's a shop there as well. That time was super depressing, but there's a shop there. So after Brandon Hill, I camped here. This was. So it was getting late in the evening. I just there's a field with a bunch of horses here. There's a field with a bunch of horses here, and there's a little kind of a road here, and there's an alcove there where I pitched my tent. I figured no one would come along because it was so late. But actually, the farmer pulled in to check on his horses, but he was sound. He didn't mind. Yeah, I was more surprised at things. But if I was to camp around here again, I'd actually just go up around here. I actually thought this line here was a road still, but it actually cuts through the forest. So if you're looking for a little place a little more secluded, you could pitch your tent there in the water. Maybe the ground would be a little uneven, a little rough, but you'll find a spot somewhere, I'm sure. So anywhere kind of around here, you'll find a place to pitch your tent. Next day, pushed on through all this, through the town, Mullavat, through Piltown, and then I went to Carrigan Shore there at the end of the Leinster Way. So I stayed in a hotel this night. Actually stayed here for 2 nights. I had a bunch of blisters, so I kind of took some time to recuperate here and in Clonmel. So Clonmel is literally just down the way. This walk here along the Long River is super nice, super fun. It's more of a stroll than a hike. So this just goes like paved the whole way, super fun. Nothing to worry about. You could, if you didn't want to camp in, or if you didn't want to book a hotel in Clonmel, you could camp up here, I'm sure. What I actually did was, I just continued, instead of going the whole way up the mountains, I just walked along the river. The path is continuous the whole way, so unless you want to, for whatever reason, go up the mountains, you can just stay on the river if you want, which is easier. So I just followed the river the whole way into Clonmel and then stayed here for the night. Again, because I had blisters, I recuperated a little bit. Then next day, coming out of Clonmel, I said, so you're on from Kerry and Beara, you're starting the East Munster Way, but between Kerry and Beara and Clonmel, it's super flat, super easy. Coming out of Clonmel, it's super steep, and once you get to the top, the trail just hasn't been maintained at all, for what I can see anyway. The trail goes through sections that are literally just walls of thorn bushes, giant thorn bushes. You can either skirt around them, bushwhack around them, or just plough through them. I was wearing shorts, that's what I did. So it wasn't fun. So if anyone here knows someone who's meant to be maintaining the South Munster Way, or the East Munster Way, sorry, tell them to do a better job. Because probably one of the worst maintained areas I saw on the entire trail I did. Just out of Clonmel, I pitched my tent here. Just into the forest area here. Again, and then next day I arrived in Clogeen. So the trail stops here, but I walked into town, shopping there, and there's also a camping park. This was expensive, but what I remember was something like €20 a night. Ground's nice, whatever. There's a shop and even like a little chipper on site. But again, it's pretty expensive for what it is. You could very easily just pitch your tent up in one of these forests here. There's plenty of space there, and just pop into town, go to the shop, pop out again. Much easier if you want to. If you're saving some money and don't want to pay for the campsite, yeah, it's definitely an option. So this is just Clogeen. And I stayed here in the forest afterwards. For this section, I came down the road here and I kind of bushwhacked through some thistles here and just walked my way down to find kind of a flat spot where I could pitch my tent. If I was to do it again, I'd say if you go down through the S-curve, actually into the forest a bit more, somewhere around here probably would be a better area to find a tent, find a place to pitch your tent. You can enter the forest a bit more easily and the ground is a bit flatter. But somewhere around here you will find a place to pitch your tent if you're looking for it. Okay. So next day I pushed on, past Kilbert. Yeah, and next day I stayed in Fermoy in a B&B there. I actually got off trail at this point because I was heading home to Limerick for my niece's christening. So I actually got a bus from Fermoy to Cork, and a bus from Cork back to Limerick. And then when I was heading back to Fermoy, I was in Cork, and then there was a status of red warning given for the county of Cork as a whole because mid of August there was a big storm that hit Ireland. So I stayed off trail for that extra 2 days while the storm hit. Then got back to Fermoy, and this whole area was waterlogged, and I pushed on then. Just had a small enough day when I first arrived in Fermoy. So then, arrived this little forest here. The trail goes off the road passes through, but you're still you're obscured, you're pretty out of the way down here. There's another trail that goes down here, whole way down, so if you wanted to, you could go out here, maybe go back here if you wanted to. Somewhere around here you'll find a place to camp, the water. I think it is, if you go down actually around the corner, I think there's like a little grotto around here that could be better for camping. But I just pitched my tent here, if you see it like that. So it's pretty flat and it was nice. Then next camp spot. Again, I was planning on doing a longer day this day, but for whatever reason, so it's failing it. So I the edge of this forest, I just pitched my tent there. I pushed on next day, past Mallow. If you need to resupply, you could probably walk into Mallow, get some food if you needed it, but again, you'll pass the town at some point, so you don't have to worry too much. I went to Buin then, and I got some food at Molly's Bar. There's no shop here, I don't think, there's Molly's Bar, just some food. And one of the locals told me you can actually camp at the community centre. So this is like a pitch, and past that here's a place where you can pitch your tent. There you go, like that. And there is a little tap in the corner, but for whatever reason when I was there it wasn't working. Maybe because of COVID they turned off all the public taps just because they didn't want people sharing water maybe. But I still had some water left over, so it wasn't too bad. And obviously I'd eaten ready, so I didn't have to cook that kind of stuff. But next day you can walk up here, and there's water along here if you need it. Another note on this thing, another local one of the farmers on here told me, you'll see a bunch of signs here saying no entry, turn back now, and there's detour to go up here. But they're all old signs. So I don't know, a year or two, whatever ago, they were doing some construction and to put up all these signs, but never bothered to take them down. Typical Ireland. So if you see any signs saying there's a diversion place, you can ignore them and just hike through here as normal. After this area, it gets super boggy and super windy. This whole area sucks balls, to be honest. Again, super boggy, super windy. It's actually a wind farm. You can see one of the windmills there. And they're all over the place around here. And when I was actually hiking through here, it's where Storm Francis hit. And obviously this was coming after the previous storm, so the place was already waterlogged. So I didn't want to camp in the bog during the storm because obviously we washed out. So I came across this little section here, which is kind of a hard road surface. I was considering, it is a bit exposed, this area, so I was considering pitching my tent up here. But this is a road, so it's like unlikely, but there could be a chance that someone could have come along the road and fucking knock over my tent with me in it. So I said it would have been better to pitch my tent behind the trees. I pitched them here instead, which was safer from the traffic point of view, but not from the wind point of view. The ground was super hard, so I had to hammer my stakes in with rocks. I put rocks even on my pegs, but it rained so much that it actually loosened up the ground, and they came loose throughout the night, and the wind was so strong and knocked over my tent maybe 4 or 5 times throughout the night. So that was a fun night. So if the weather isn't too bad, this place will be fine. If it's windy, actually, I would say you can pitch your tent here, no bother. When I was there was no traffic there, so obviously I can't say for certain, but when I was there was no one going up this road, so don't worry too much about it. You could potentially try and get inside the trees, but they're pretty dense, so I don't know if you could get in there. Another option could be to just try and go up here. I never explored this area, but I saw it the next day and I was like, fuck, that could have been good. Like you could pitch your tent kind of behind this building, get some shelter that way, or potentially in the trees here. But yeah, around here you find a spot to pitch your tent really, because this area, the trail then goes down roads and like old forestry roads, and so you can't really pitch your tent here because it's super rocky. So yeah, if you can, so between here and Mill Street there's not much options. So I pitch my tent here, and yeah. So then if they pushed on through to Mill Street, and I stayed there for the night in Wallace Arms Hotel. It's pretty basic, it was fine. I actually skipped this section here. One of my sections I skipped because the weather was so bad and this area is notoriously boggy, and I just felt it was too dangerous to actually go through by myself. So I skipped it. I actually got the bus from Mill Street into Killarney, so I skipped this, whatever it is, 20 20-30 kilometer section. So I can't give any recommendations on where to camp exactly around there, but yeah, I'm gonna. This whole area, this section here is all road walking, and this whole section here is bog. Yeah, so if you're around there somewhere. Yeah, so I got the bus into Killarney, stayed there for the night, then did the first section of the Kerry Way, so the Killarney down to Kenmare, used the old Kenmare Road. Kenmare is actually the one place on trail where I wanted to camp, but I couldn't find a spot, so I had to book into a B&B that night. So originally I was planning on staying here in the park. When I put in Google, it sent me down this road here behind the Park Hotel Kenmare. And when I got there, it just felt like this whole area belonged to the hotel. And like the staff looked at me like, who's this random person here? And then it started raining, and so I just said, fuck it, I need to get out of rain, and I just booked into this place here. But next day, walking down this road, I actually found, maybe it's up this road, but there's a road here somewhere, there's a signpost that points towards the park. So if you are looking to camp in Kenmare, just go down this road, and you'll find a signpost on the street, signpost on the road. That'll bring you out to somewhere around here, and you should be able to camp there somewhere. I can't guarantee that, but that's what I would recommend if you're going to camp. Save a bit of money. Then after Kenmare, moved on to the Beara Peninsula. Start the first day we went to Lara. There's a camp spot, a campground down here, Freeman Lodge. So this is maybe about 20 minutes, an hour maybe at most, off trail. In retrospect, I probably could have camped around here. There's a crossroads there. Yeah, this area, if you're not too worried about people driving by and seeing you and that kind of thing, you could probably pitch your tent here somewhere. At the time, this was closed, so I couldn't even look at that as an option. But again, if you want to be B&B, it's there. Or you could maybe try and chance camp at the church. So after that, and I'd stayed here obviously, then next day we'd back up and down again. And I camped over here. I done this. And I camped here at this little beach, so they were probably a beach for the night. Quite nice. It's a rocky beach, not white sand, sadly, but it was fine. So this whole area here, so this is an old barracks. This is an old sail house. And there's a beach here, beach there, and a beach there. And you could probably pretty much camp anywhere around here. These areas are probably the best ones. There's a little stream that comes down onto this beach here. There is a fence with some steps over it. So a little pain in the ass to do that anytime you want water, but yeah, it's fine. Literally just a couple of minutes. So yeah, you can pitch your tent there, so beach there, and you could. The ground up here by the sail house is a little uneven, but you could use it if you wanted to. I didn't check the ground by the barracks. Again, that's a historical landmark, so I don't know if you could properly pitch your tent there, but the fields on either side could be good for it. But again, this whole area is perfectly fine. Yeah, cool. And then I pushed on to the last place I stayed on trail. It's another beach further down. Yeah, so past Alihi's, down to this beach here. So again, this was actually a campground. I messaged them on Facebook and they said, yeah, there's plenty of space, come on down. And when I got there was no reception, it doesn't look like there's anyone actually running it. There's just a bunch of caravans that look like they're from the 80s here. So I just pitched my tent and messaged on Facebook, said, look, I'm down here, pitch my tent already. If you want me to pay, come down and I'll meet you. But I never heard from them again. So again, pitch your tent there if you want. You could probably pitch your tent on the beach somewhere if you really wanted to as well. There's public toilets down here. just toilets, basics, no shower or anything like that, just toilets. And then next day, I got up early and I hiked the cable car. The first cable car starts at 9:30 in the morning. First one on the island, then hiked the island, across the island to the tip. And I had my lunch there and then went back. I didn't camp on this island. You can camp on the island if you wanted to. Again, there's a little hut there, a little abandoned structure there. You could maybe pitch your tent behind if you wanted to. It could be super windy. The Jersey Island website actually says to ask the farmers where you can camp, because that's they own all land. But there's plenty of places, plenty of room. The population of Jersey Island is 15 people, so I think you should be fine. But I didn't camp on the island. I just hiked it and back in one day. Got back to the cable car, had some fish and chips, and I ordered a taxi. I ordered it the night before, and got the taxi back to New Bearhaven, or Castletown, Bearhaven. The taxi was €30, I believe. Stayed there that night, and next morning got a bus from Bearhaven to Cork, which was like €20-something. Kind of expensive for what it was, but I guess this town's in the middle of nowhere, so I can't complain too much. Bearhaven is the only area around. It's the only area in kind of this whole area that has public transport. So that's everywhere I camped and stayed on my thru-hike across Ireland. Obviously there's these are the only places I stayed in. There's thousands of places you could stay, I'm sure. But I wanted to make a definitive list with actual pinpoints saying this is where I stayed, because when I was researching this myself, there's very little information, and people in the wild camping community are very secretive, which I think is actually counterproductive to movement as opposed to productive. I think the more information we share, the more people will go hike. The more people will go hike, the more powerful we can be in terms of getting the restrictive laws in Ireland changed over time, which would be better for all of us. Instead of having to feel like a criminal pitching a tent in a forest, we should just go do it, as opposed to being reprimanded for it. We shouldn't need to go hide a secret just to go out and enjoy nature. It should be a right for everyone, in my opinion. And the first step to achieving that is to get more people in Ireland going out hiking and camping. So again, any questions on any of these camp spots, or any suggestions of your own, comment below. Again, the link to this map is in the description. You can copy it, you can export it, you can share it, do what you want with it. I take no legal responsibility, as they say. Thanks for watching, and any questions, let me know. Cheers.